Elisa Torres, you are known as the founder of Girls in Quantum. What is Girls in Quantum?
Yeah, well, Girls in Quantum is an organization that looks to democratize education of quantum computing through educational resources in our social media, website, and other platforms. Is to reach students around the world to start teaching them about quantum computing, which is amazing for me. And I would love to inspire other students as well to learn about this emerging technology.
There are many topics. In Switzerland, there is an organization called Girls at Science, but you do Girls in Quantum, and quantum is something so very special. Why quantum?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Well, some years ago, I had no idea about quantum computing, and I'm still learning. But I joined this course called Introduction to Quantum Computing, and it was from the coding school in IBM, and I decided to join. I was having a lot of free time, and I applied to the program, and afterwards I was so happy because I received the full scholarship to participate from IBM, and it was like a whole immersion in this program, learning about quantum physics, quantum mechanics, of course in an introductory level, and I wanted to share that with my community, and I think that was like the thing that impacted me and led me to found Girls in Quantum.
It infected you. How was your surrounding? How was your family? Where do you come from? Perhaps this explains a little bit why you got that infection with quantums.
Of course. Well, both my parents are really supportive people, and I'm really happy.
But scientists?
But they're not scientists, actually. I wanted to tell that they're not scientists at all. Actually, people tell us, like, hey, perhaps your parents are scientists, but, well, my dad is an engineer and my mom is an engineer. So both are not scientists, but they are involved in a kind of way in technology. So they are really inspiring, but I think that the most important for me was that they gave me some books that really, I can say that woke up my curiosity, and that was like a perfect thing that really led me to explore as many things as I wanted.
Mm-hmm. And you wrote, or you said in an interview that I read, that you have now girls from all over the world. You quote an email from a girl from Pakistan who was not allowed by her family to even go to school, and the father said, do the homework, and you want to inspire girls all over the world. This is a great and a huge goal all over the world. It's not just Chile where you're coming from. Exactly. The whole world.
No, totally. I think that that's the most important for us. I think that we have had many girls that are really inspiring because they can tell us their stories as well, why they are going to STEM and sometimes their issues. It's really nice to get to know, like, hey, sometimes we're the same age, but sometimes we have different issues around the world. So it's how we approach those problems that are important for us, especially to have this community that can support each other and say, like, hey, you can be like in quantum as well. Let's learn together. Let's have this community that support each other, and start like growing around the world. We have people from Libya, from United States, from Spain, from Germany, from 11 countries that are currently working with us. We have impacted around 1,000 students around the world, and it's so amazing to have this sort of community, and that we all started. It's all about students, so it's from students to students, and that's the most precious for me.
You think that works better from students to students than from professors to students?
Yeah, well, that's good to know, because sometimes it's really difficult to understand when, for example, a professor is like, or adults are hosting these organizations. Of course, I love the organizations that are going on right now in terms of involving more students in STEM, and it's so powerful to have mentors as well that can guide you. But in Girls in Quantum, it's mostly from students to students, although we have mentors that are, for example, have masters, have PhDs, have their studies, and that can help and contribute with their knowledge to students. But yeah, definitely that we're students to students, it's really what makes us different, because we know that we cannot go to school and say, like, hey, this is quantum computing, you have to learn it, right? Yeah. So it's more about getting into students, getting into the applications, for example, about quantum computing. Like, hey, you like finance? Okay, there's like a possible application of quantum computing and finance, and how this would help you in your future in the workforce, but also in your personal development. So that's really helpful for us, and getting to understand other students is also really valuable.
Tell me one thing. I mean, quantum computing or quantum physics is based on natural laws. And natural laws are ubiquitous. why girls? Do they react differently to these natural laws or to quantum computer? Why the focus on girls?
Yeah, well, I think that the most important thing is that we need to spread awareness on what's happening nowadays. So it's, for example, mostly on events or conferences or things related to
But you could
science.
do this for boys too. Why girls?
Yeah, well, in terms of these events are mostly boys or men involved. So why we do this is because we need to see more girls represented. So the next generation, why we're doing this is because the next generation are seeing like all these conferences and things in science or technology, mathematics or engineering, and they're seeing all men. So they're like, how can they be inspired to be involved? So what we're doing is focusing on girls. It's not only for girls. Everyone is involved to be welcome to be involved in the program in Girls in Quantum, but we focus on girls because we want to close the gender gap. Nowadays the gender gap is so devastating that we need to include more females in the STEM.
From the point of view of equal rights, and I see that, but do you think that female intuition or female intelligence or female thinking does react differently or can change the science?
I think that we're both really eligible, both genders, to participate in STEM in those areas. But of course, there's like certain, for example, issues in terms of cultural problems, factors, and political factors that affect sometimes the mindset of girls. Like, hey, perhaps I'm not, I don't know, suitable to do STEM, and that's a bad thing because there's not because of they want to have their mindset, but it's because society sometimes implement that knowledge. But women and males are both eligible and capable of doing whatever they want.
And you are now traveling as an ambassador, so to say, for girls, for quantum physics. And do you find time to study, to go to school, to go to university, or is this now your job, the ambassador?
Yeah, well, of course, it's really important to have this sort of priority of organization. For me, it's key. I'm in school yet. Still, so I'm in the senior year. Last year was school, and now I'll have to apply for universities. I'm still young, so I had to do, and I have to explore a lot of things. But it's quite nice for me to get to know these experiences, to get to know people that are involved in the industry of technology, in science, academics, professors. It's so enriching for me, and I experience. And yeah, I think that. Since I was really young, I've been really organized with my things. So I really try to balance what's my academics, and also what I do with Girls in Quantum and the organization.
Normally, if an adult wants to found such an organization, they write concepts, they apply for grants, they apply for support with foundations and so on. And you just did it via Instagram, I read, and via the social media. Is this an advantage of your generation?
Yeah, I think that's definitely what I always try to tell, like as the message. It's like we live in this technological era right now. So there's like, for example, online, everything can be virtual right now. So we need to take advantage of that. And I think that those kind of things is what I really try to take advantage of. Like I really enjoy. And I said like, hey, my generation is mainly focused on internet right now, on social media. That can be taken as good or bad, depending on how it's used. But I decided to propose myself like, hey, how can I do some of impact through it? And I started posting like some videos about what was quantum computing and what was I learned during this program. So I think that those kind of things are the really important things that can matter or influence people in terms like, hey, perhaps this is fun, perhaps this is interesting, perhaps can I learn? That's the good thing that I really love, and I try to use social media to reach out more students around the world that perhaps are miles away from Chile, but I can still reach, and perhaps one video can make a difference.
You didn't experience the change of the world with the introduction of the iPhone. I did. And I can tell you, the iPhone changed our everyday's life dramatically. We made via Tinder or whatever, and we meet people via Facebook, Instagram, we exchange news via TikTok and so on, and this change, we buy things, it changed the world dramatically. Do you think that quantum computing will change the world as dramatically as did the introduction of the iPhone?
Of course. Well, I'll have to say, as my perspective as a student, I've seen a lot of things going on right now on social media and in the news. There's like current updates like, hey, this is happening right now. This industry, for example, or this company is launching as new quantum computer now, for example, in Spain, or there's a quantum computer now in Cleveland. So there's like a lot of things happening right now that really can be like, as so-called right now, a quantum hype that sometimes really excites people like, oh, perhaps this is like going to be extremely incredible. And of course, sometimes I can be unbiased in terms of that. Of course, I have to say that for me, quantum computing is incredible. But I think that in 10 years more, in 20 years more, in the future, it will definitely be something that it's going to be talked more in the table, and it will definitely influence some other governments. Right now, for example, Canada, UK, it's going to put this strategy in their governments. So it's definitely something that will be talked more.
But will it influence the life of your dad?
I think that...
Or for your mom?
Yeah, I think that's totally a good discussion topic. I think that definitely right now I'm seeing the examples of IBM or how it's involved in Mercedes-Benz and all of these companies right now, for example, in sustainability. So I think that definitely there's a point that we can consider that could be like really indirect or direct in terms of influencing, for example, my parents. But I think that it will have like some point of impact right there on the people.
And what is will be the most obvious and most touchable change?
Yeah.
After the introduction of a broad quantum computing?
Yeah, well, in terms of like learning quantum computing, I would say that when I started learning, I started understanding, of course, a little bit basics of quantum mechanics and quantum physics, and it was clearly to me that it's going to be the key thing, like the key impact is going to be in efficiency and also like how fast the things can be with a quantum computer. I remember reading this article in Forbes about how a quantum computer from Google did this super calculation in less than 4 minutes, and that was like quite impressive for me. And I imagine all the things that are coming on their way. IBM launched this 400 qubits quantum computer. Some people said, oh, it's not a big change. Some people said it's quite an advance. So there's like different thoughts right there. But for me, it's quite an impact in how everything's are working right now.
But it will influence also, for example, encryption. Encryption will be worthless, or today's encryption. And for example, AI will be much more powerful. AI could be used to distribute fake news, and this will be even faster. Don't you have any fear about these developments?
Well, what you said is really key, because right now encryption is, for example, they talk about DARPA right now in the conference QuantumBasel. So it's really about how it's being used right now in the world in the potential applications. I was like reading about the influence on the encryption, for example, in governments from USA. So how they save the information and how quantum computers can hack that. So it's like anything could be dangerous right now with quantum computer in terms of how can you secure your things. So there's definitely a potential application right there that people need to worry about, perhaps, or more than worry, I would say to start thinking more about what they could do in the future, like to evitate those things, to prevent what could happen.
And do you young generation talk only about the fascination and the chances, or do you reflect on disadvantages and how to prevent such abuse, you could say?
Yeah, well, I think that definitely it's needed more education in terms of getting to know, okay, we use a lot of social media. For example, I'm just saying social media, but there's like a lot of things going on. So if we use social media, we use certain technology, we start using it. But we don't question like why we use it or why could it affect me, like using it. So we give information that sometimes we don't know about. So it's really key to start like learning about some consequences and also some possible applications and implications on your life. I think it's definitely sometimes when I talk to people about, I don't know, ChatGPT, that it's really, right now it's like a trending topic, right? So when we talk about it, it's like, okay, this is so helpful for me, like, I don't know. But sometimes when I talk to professors, they tell me like, hey, this this can be revolutionizing for the academic industry, like the academics, right? Because how students are going to use their critical thinking or analytical thinking, how they're going to write essays. So there's like a completely change right there that can be, I don't know, completely revolutionizing in the future.
Yeah, and not forgetting the journalists who are...
Totally.
You don't need journalists if ChatGPT writes all the articles. So it's good to talk from person to person. Last question. I imagine I know the answer, but when you finish your school, you mentioned you are now in the last year. What will you study?
Yeah, of course. Well, that's also a good question. I've been really trying to research a lot in terms of right now, these experiences right now in QuantumBasel are really enriching for me. So I would say that I'll definitely go into STEM, but I've seen engineering as an option, also physics and biotechnology. So there's like 3 different areas right there that I complemented together. I would like to continue with quantum computing, but those sort of 3 options are really likely for me to study because I really like them. I really enjoy them. Like I've seen like some of the majors and possible opportunities in the future that are really, I don't know, I really like them. And I personally would love to study that.
Not yet decided exactly in which direction.
No.
Are you decided? Well, you see now the world being an ambassador for quantum physics. Will you do that in Chile, or have you seen any spot where you would like to go for your studies?
Well, I've been definitely, my parents always tried to support me and tried to tell me like, hey, Elisa, there's like nice opportunities here in Chile, for example. But through these sort of international opportunities, I've seen like, hey, how is the world out there? Like, and some people, for example, in this opportunity, the professors encouraged me like, hey, Lisa, you should definitely apply to US or perhaps here in Europe. And I was like, okay. So everything is welcome, honestly. I have like an open mindset to study in a place that can allow me to have these opportunities. Of course, I have these 3 sort of options that I told you. I think that those have definitely a future and opportunities, and there's something that I like. So definitely that will depend on the country that I study. But I see myself honestly enjoying the opportunities that are given.
Thank you very much, Elisa Torres, for this interview. I wish you all the best, and perhaps you do 1 year in Chile, 1 year in the United States, and 1 year here in Boston.
Yeah, who knows, honestly. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity.